Mary Taylor. War broke out when I was 15. I was living at home on a farm near Skipton. I applied to join the Land Army once I was of age, but was turned down because I was in a reserved occupation, making bandages in a mill. Once the war was over, I joined the Land Army. My mother wasn't in favour of it. I was the youngest and the only one at home. Wearing civvies and with my uniform in a bag, I travelled all the way south. I had to change trains often, and I had never been so far from home before. I got to Bristol Temple Meads, then Bradford-on-Avon. I thought, Bradford, must be home again. I was met at Yeovil Pen Mill, the darkness lit by gaslight, by a small Land Army girl with peroxide hair. I was slightly disapproving of colouring your hair at the time. I was taken to a hostel run by Dorset Warrag over the bridge just into Sherborne at the bottom of Yeovil Golf Course. The hostel was a converted outhouse in a farmyard. There were 20 girls and 2 sleeping rooms with bunk beds. Girls fought to get the top bunks when people left. We used to call the warden, Miss Marsden, old hag. She used to pull my friend out of bed and onto the floor when she wouldn't wake up in time. And she would stand by the door and say, "You're a minute late," when girls got back from the pictures, etc. Because I had been brought up on a farm, I was made forelady. The other girls resented me at first. I was 21, they were 17 or 18. I didn't leave the hostel to go out socially for a month to get my head round things. I eventually settled in and made my own particular friends. I kept up with about 4 of these. They're all now dead except one. It was different farming from that on the Yorkshire moors. We had bicycles. We used to work on Wyatt Paul's farm where the hostel was, and also on the farms around. The warden would give me a list of jobs, and I would sort the girls into gangs. They would be transported in a truck, singing songs from the war, and a gang of 4 or so being dropped off every so often. We worked on Bradford Abbas farm. There were horses and carts on farms then. We did sugar beet bashing or turnips or potatoes. You would knock the heads off with an axe, then pull them out and put them at the side for the carts to collect. We had our lunch under a hedge. I would listen to the farm hands talking thick, etc. in broad Somerset. I was broad Yorkshire, and I didn't understand. You would have a bottle with a sock on top and cold tea inside, hunks of bread and cheese and a knife. We did thrashing, hoeing, sugar beet, jobs the farmers didn't want to do themselves. One field at Long Burton was called 9 acres. We would all groan at the thought of it, because by the time we finished hoeing, the field needed doing at the other end again. It was all crops, no animals or milking. We did a lot of thrashing. The machine would travel from farm to farm. We would put corn in the hopper and build ricks. There were lots of rats. We would tie up the bottom of our trousers. I can't remember any accidents, except once when a thrasher caught on fire, and the girls had to jump off onto some hay the men had spread out below for them. While at the hostel, there was foot and mouth disease. Half the cows had to be slaughtered. The girls had to walk through disinfectant with a policeman there to check they did it. They put music on to drown the sound of the cows being destroyed. German POWs skinned the cows that were not too bad. The others were buried in lime at the bottom of the golf course. At the hostel, it was the warden, Miss Marsden, and an elderly lady who did the cooking. There was roast dinner at night. You would have to get up in time to make sandwiches for lunch. If you were late, there were no ingredients left. You had to be in by 10:30 p.m, or you would lose your late pass on Saturday night to 12 midnight. There was nothing in the bedrooms but bunk beds and chests of drawers. You got one drawer. No heating. You kept your clothes on the bed. Some of the girls were really slovenly. The hostel had one phone, and girls were allowed calls at night. There were 2 bathrooms, but no laundry facilities. You washed stuff in the sink and hung it to dry on toilet doors. If you couldn't get into a bathroom after work, you didn't go out that evening. Girls often came just to have a good time. They would stay a little while and then leave to get married. This was after the war. Invitations would come to the hostel from military establishments, and we would go to dances at Hamdon and Yeovilton. Once we were taken to Blandford by truck. When I first came to Yeovil, it was a small country town where they drove the cows to Penmill Station. Then it became a garrison town with soldiers at Hamdon and the Navy at Yeovilton. Girls were told to always travel in 2s and were only allowed at night in 2s. There were no buses. We would walk to Yeovil to the cinema, and had to come out early in order to get back by 10:30. We could have gone out every night if we'd wanted, but we were too tired. There were 3 cinemas in Yeovil: the Flea Pit near St John's Church in the little road between Church and Princess Street, the Odeon where the bed place is now, and the bingo hall where the Chinese used to be. We had the shilling seats, as this was all we could afford. There were other hostels in Dorchester and Sturminster. When I left the Land Army, I went to work for Major Budden at Sutton Bingham, lodging with the tractor driver and his wife. I got on well with Major Budden. Once I was scything and talking to him and hit his gouty toe with the scythe. He hopped about. I thought I might get the sack.